$5 at Chez Laurent? What were you gonna do, split an appetizer and call it a night?
When billionaire Clinton Ashford witnesses his maid Emma being cruelly mocked by her blind date for only having $5 at an upscale restaurant, he decides to secretly intervene. What starts as a simple act of kindness transforms into something neither of them expected: a life-changing friendship and new beginning. Welcome, my dear family and friends, to a heartwarming story about dignity, kindness, and second chances. Do tell us where you are watching from, because we are always glad to know that. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. When a wealthy businessman sees his employee humiliated for being poor, he orchestrates an unforgettable evening that proves true worth isn't measured in dollars. Sometimes the smallest acts of compassion create the biggest changes in our lives. The restaurant hummed with the quiet elegance of wealth. Crystal glasses catching candlelight, soft jazz floating through the air, and the subtle clink of silverware on fine china. I stood in the shadows near the service entrance, having just finished a business dinner, when I saw her. Emma, my maid of 3 years, sat at a corner table, her hands folded nervously in her lap. She'd done something different with her hair. Soft curls instead of the practical ponytail she wore while cleaning my penthouse. The dress was simple but pretty, probably borrowed from her sister. I'd heard her on the phone earlier this week, excited about a blind date her cousin had arranged. I should have left. Should have slipped out the back and pretended I'd never seen her. But something made me pause as a man approached her table. "Emma?" he asked, and she looked up with such hope in her eyes that it made my chest tight. "Yes. You must be Derek. It's so nice to finally meet you." He sat down, giving her a once-over that immediately set my teeth on edge. Derek was everything I despised in my business dealings. Flashy watch, too much cologne, and eyes that calculated value like a cash register. "So," he said, not bothering with pleasantries, "what do you do?" "I work in household management," Emma said carefully. She'd told me once she hated saying she was just a maid. Household management. He laughed. "That's a fancy way of saying you clean toilets." The smile flickered on her face, but she maintained her composure. "I take care of a penthouse in Manhattan. It's actually quite." Right. He waved her off, already scanning the menu. "Well, I hope you brought your wallet. This place isn't cheap." I watched Emma's face fall. Her cousin had told her Derek was a successful banker who'd insisted on taking her somewhere nice. I thought. She stammered. "What? That I'd pay for everything." Derek snorted. "It's 2025, sweetheart. Equal rights means equal bills. Besides, I need to know you're not some gold digger." The irony of a man wearing a $20,000 watch calling Emma a potential gold digger made my hands clench. Emma, who sent half her paycheck to her sick mother in Ohio. Emma, who worked 2 jobs to pay for her younger brother's college tuition. Emma, who had turned down my offers of raises, saying she was already paid fairly. "Of course," Emma said quietly, opening the menu. I saw her eyes widen at the prices. The cheapest appetizer was $40. "I'll just have a salad," she said. "The Caesar?" Derek asked. "That's $60. "Oh, then maybe just water." He rolled his eyes. "Great. I'm on a date with someone who can't even afford dinner. This is what I get for letting my mom set me up." He pulled out his phone, already texting. "Look, this isn't going to work. I have standards." "I have money," Emma said quickly, reaching for her purse. "I just didn't expect." "How much?" He looked amused now, like a cat playing with a mouse. Emma opened her wallet, and I saw her count the bills. My heart sank. $5, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Derek burst out laughing. Loud, cruel laughter that made other diners turn to stare. $5. At Chez Laurent? What were you going to do, split an appetizer and call it a night? I don't usually come to places like this, Emma said, her cheeks burning. Your profile said you liked simple things, walks in the park, coffee dates. That's what you put when you don't want to attract leeches, he said, standing up. But clearly, my filter didn't work. $5. He laughed again, addressing the nearby tables. Can you believe it? She brought $5 to a restaurant where the bread costs more than that. Emma stood too, dignified even in her humiliation. I may not have much money, but at least I have manners. Manners don't pay bills, sweetheart. Enjoy your water. He tossed a 20 on the table. Here, get yourself an appetizer. Consider it charity. He walked out, still chuckling, leaving Emma standing there with tears threatening to spill. She sank back into her chair, staring at the $20 bill like it was a snake. I made my decision. Walking to the maitre d', I whispered quick instructions, slipping him my black card. Then I approached Emma's table. Excuse me, miss? She looked up, mortified. Mr. Ashford. I'm so sorry, I didn't know you dined here. I'll just... She started to stand. Please sit. I kept my voice gentle. I'm actually here with the owner. We couldn't help but overhear that. Gentleman. Francois, the owner, wanted me to tell you that you've been randomly selected for our monthly dining experience promotion. Promotion. She looked confused. Yes. One lucky guest each month receives the chef's tasting menu, completely complimentary. Tonight, that's you. Mr. Ashford, I can't. It's not from me, I lied smoothly. It's from the restaurant. Francois is very particular about how guests are treated in his establishment. That man's behavior was unacceptable. Please allow them to make it right. Before she could protest further, waiters appeared with champagne, amuse-bouches, and warm smiles. The sommelier began describing wine pairings while the head chef himself came out to discuss the evening's special preparations. I should go, Emma whispered, overwhelmed. Why? I sat down across from her. Because some small man tried to make you feel small? You deserve to be here as much as anyone. With $5 in my wallet, with kindness in your heart and grace under pressure. I've had dinner with billionaires who had less class than you showed tonight. She laughed shakily. You're just saying that because I iron your shirts. I'm saying it because it's true, and because Francois really will be offended if you don't try his soufflé. The man's an artist with chocolate. Over the next 2 hours, I watched Emma transform. The embarrassment faded as she savored each course, asked thoughtful questions about the wine, and charmed every server with her genuine appreciation. She told me about her family, her dreams of opening a small café back home, her love of cooking that she rarely got to indulge. This is the kindest thing anyone's ever done for me, she said over dessert. The restaurant, I mean. This promotion. You deserve kindness, Emma. We all do. She was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Why are you really here? You hate French food. You told me once it's all sauce and pretension. I smiled, caught. Maybe I'm learning to appreciate it. Or maybe, she said slowly, you're just a very kind man pretending to be a cold businessman. Don't let that get out. I have a reputation to maintain. As we finished dinner, I made another decision. Emma, I have a proposition. Not as your employer, but as a businessman. You mentioned wanting to open a café. I'm looking for investment opportunities in the hospitality sector. Her eyes widened. Mr. Ashford, I couldn't. It would be a loan. With terms. I'd want to see a business plan, projections, the works. But I believe you have what it takes. Why would you do that? Because I've watched you for 3 years. You're intelligent, hard-working, and you understand people. You remember how I take my coffee, my mother's birthday, and the name of every delivery person who comes to the penthouse. That's not just being a good maid, that's being a good businesswoman. Tears finally spilled over. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. And Emma, next time someone tries to make you feel worthless, remember this night. Remember that your worth isn't measured in dollars. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Thank you. For everything. Even if the promotion story was a bit thin. What gave it away? You're a terrible liar when you're being kind. It's actually quite endearing. We both laughed, and I realized this was the most genuine evening I'd had in years. No pretense, no power plays, just two people sharing a meal and conversation. As I walked her to a taxi, she turned to me. Mr. Ashford. Clinton. That man tonight. Derek. He was wrong about me being a gold digger. But he was also wrong about something else. What's that? He said manners don't pay bills. But they do open doors. And hearts. She smiled. Thank you for reminding me that there are still good people in the world. Watching her taxi disappear into the night, I thought about the $5 in her wallet and the millions in my bank account. Derek had laughed at her for bringing so little, but he'd never understand that Emma had brought something far more valuable. Authenticity, grace, and the courage to show up as herself. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. James. I want to set up a small business fund. Yes, tonight. And I need you to look into café properties in Ohio. 6 months later, I stood in front of Emma's kitchen in Columbus, Ohio, watching through the window as Emma served coffee and homemade pastries to a packed house. She'd insisted on paying back the loan with interest and had presented me with a business plan that would have impressed my board of directors. She saw me through the window and waved, her engagement ring catching the light. She'd met someone 2 months after our dinner, a teacher who'd asked her out for coffee and hadn't blinked when she'd offered to split the bill. I went inside and she hugged me, flowers still on her apron. Clinton. I can't believe you came. I wouldn't miss the grand opening. Besides, I heard you serve the best chocolate soufflé in Ohio. She laughed. Learned from the best. Well, learned from watching the best while pretending to randomly win a free dinner. You knew. I clean your penthouse, Clinton. I've seen your credit card statements. Chez Laurent charges your card monthly for business dinners. The charge that night. Triple your usual. We both laughed, and she led me to a table where her fiancé, Mark, was waiting. As I sat down to homemade food in a warm, welcoming space filled with the chatter of happy customers, I thought about that night at Chez Laurent. Derek had mocked Emma for having $5. But she'd had something worth far more. The ability to maintain dignity in the face of cruelty, to see the best in people, and to transform kindness into opportunity. As for me, I'd learned that sometimes the best investment isn't in stocks or real estate, but in people who deserve a chance to shine. And that the most expensive dinner of my life, disguised as a free promotion, had yielded the greatest return. A true friend and the reminder that wealth means nothing without humanity. Emma brought me coffee, prepared exactly how I liked it, with a slice of pie that looked homemade because it was. On the house, she said with a wink. Consider it a promotion. I raised my cup to her. To promotions, then. And to proving that $5 and a kind heart are worth more than all the money in the world. To unexpected friendships, she countered. And to billionaires who pretend they don't hate French food. As I bit into the best apple pie I'd ever tasted, surrounded by the warmth of Emma's dream made real, I knew that sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones where kindness wins, where the mocked become the triumphant, and where a billionaire learns that the best things in life, friendship, dignity, and really good pie, can't be bought at any price. They can only be earned, one act of kindness at a time. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Remember, kindness costs nothing but changes everything. If this story touched your heart, please share it and spread the message of compassion.